You're nobody special. That's not an insult. That's just the geography of your life. You grew up in a town that doesn't have a name worth knowing. The kind of place where the biggest event of any given year is the county fair. Your father worked the line at a machine shop. You did too, starting the Monday after graduation, because what else was there to do? You had a girl, Ruth, black hair, laughed too loud. The best thing about you. You had a mother who ironed your shirts on Sunday night and cried quietly when she thought you couldn't hear. You had a beat-up Ford pickup with a cracked windshield you kept meaning to fix. And you had a life that wasn't much, but was yours. Then the letter came. Summer of 1950, and the world started moving faster than you could think. North Korea crossed the border in June. By August, you were on a bus to Fort Benning with a duffel bag and the loose understanding that this was something you were supposed to do. Nobody argued. You didn't fully understand what you were signing up for, and nobody rushed to explain it. Your brother came home from the Pacific in '45 to a street full of neighbors, a newspaper photo, a story worth telling at dinner parties for the next 20 years. You got a bus ticket south and a handshake. The moment you step off the transport in Busan, something hits you that nobody put in the briefing. The heat, the smell, the way the place just reaches up and grabs you by the collar and makes clear that whatever story you told yourself back home about what this was going to be, that story was wrong. The first few weeks are a full-body education in everything your training skipped over. The smell of the peninsula is something you never find the right word for. Burning, rotting, ancient. All of it at once. The summer heat is brutal and wet, the kind that sits on your chest like a sandbag. Then September arrives, and the heat doesn't ease up gradually. It just stops. Something colder and meaner takes its place, and you start to understand this country has no interest in being comfortable for you. Marcus is your squad sergeant. He's maybe 26, but looks 40. The way everyone over here looks older than they are, like the place charges interest on your face. He's been in country since Incheon, which means he's survived things he doesn't talk about, which means they were bad. He has this way of standing that tells you exactly how much he trusts the ground under his feet, which is not at all. The first thing Marcus tells your squad, the afternoon you're assigned to him, is this. Everything you learned at Benning will keep you alive for about one day. What keeps you alive after that is watching the man who's still here and doing what he does. Then he checks your bootlaces and adjusts the way 3 men are wearing their packs and doesn't say another word for 2 hours. He doesn't need to. Every correction he makes is a lesson. He carries a pocket watch, old brass scratched to hell. His father carried it through France in 1918. You see him check it at odd moments, not to tell the time, but the way someone touches a photograph. A habit, a handhold. He told you once, maybe the second week, that his father said the watch stopped working at Belleauwood and started again on the ship home. Guess it didn't like France either, he said. Only time you ever heard Marcus laugh. The campaign, such as it is, makes almost no sense from ground level. You get orders, you move, you set up a position, you get new orders, you move again. The officers aren't exactly radiating confidence. Half the time, they're arguing with each other over maps while you stand outside in the mud trying to figure out which direction is actually north. The whole thing has the feeling of a plan being improvised by people who are pretending very hard that it isn't. Marcus cuts through it. When the orders make no sense, he translates them into something your legs can follow. When the maps are wrong, he reads the terrain instead. You start watching him the way the other men watch him. Not with admiration exactly, but with the specific attention of someone who has decided that this person is the reason they'll survive. Most days are just waiting. You learn fast that war is 90% boredom and 10% something that rewires you permanently. Then one morning, marching up a dirt road outside some village you'll never know the name of, you see your first body, an American, face down in the ditch, boots still laced up tight. Nobody stops. Marcus keeps walking, and you follow him because what else do you do? But your brain takes a photograph. It keeps that photograph forever. That night, Marcus sits down next to you and says, Without you asking, the first one lives in your head rent-free. The rest move in quieter. It's not comfort, it's preparation. By October, the UN push has swept north, and there are serious people in serious rooms talking about ending this whole thing by Christmas. MacArthur himself is practically measuring the Yalu River for curtains. The mood among the men shifts. Something almost like cautious optimism, which in a war zone is about the most dangerous emotion you can have. Marcus doesn't share it. You notice because you've learned to read him by now. When the other men start talking about being home for the holidays, Marcus goes quieter than usual. He checks the watch more often. He starts making the squad run extra drills on night movement, cold weather gear maintenance, fallback positions. The men grumble. You don't, because you've started to trust the thing in Marcus that doesn't believe good news. The rumbles are starting. Whispers filtering down from command about Chinese troop movements near the border. A lot of them. An uncomfortable number. Nobody says it out loud, but something is coming. Marcus already knows. It happens on the night of November 27th, 1950, and nothing in the previous 20 years of your life was preparation for it. You're dug in somewhere near the Chosin Reservoir, a frozen wasteland at the top of the world. Temperatures already cracking 20 below at night. The darkness up here is total. Then the sound starts. Bugles. Not one or two, hundreds of them, maybe more, cutting through the frozen dark from every direction at once. Whistles, drums, a wall of noise designed specifically to do one thing to the human brain, and it works perfectly. They come out of the hills in waves. The Chinese People's Volunteer Army has been massing north of the border for weeks, while the generals argued about whether they were really there. They were really there. 300,000 of them pouring south across the Yalu, and somewhere in that arithmetic is your unit, a few hundred men in frozen foxholes who are about to discover what it feels like to be completely, mathematically irrelevant. The first hour is just chaos, pure, unprocessed chaos. Positions to your left evaporate. Gunfire, then silence, then more gunfire from the wrong direction. Your lieutenant goes forward to check the line and doesn't come back. Nobody knows if he's dead or just swallowed by the dark. Marcus holds the squad together. While the line collapses around you, his voice cuts through the noise. Not shouting, just steady. The same tone he uses to correct your pack straps. Move here. Cover there. Fall back to the draw. Every instruction is a decision that keeps you breathing for another 4 minutes. You follow it because following Marcus is the only thing that makes sense when nothing else does. At some point, you can't tell if it's midnight or 3 in the morning, you realize the main column isn't where it was. The road south is gone. Not blocked. Gone. Like the rest of the war just picked up and moved and forgot to tell you. Marcus grabs the radio. He works the dial. He says his call sign into the receiver and waits. Static. He tries again. Static. He keeps trying until the answer is clear. Then he puts the radio down and looks at the 8 men he has left, and you see something cross his face that's gone before anyone else catches it. Just a flicker. The math? Nobody is coming. 8 men. That's what you've got when the night finally sorts itself out. 8 men in a shallow draw off the main road, the sound of gunfire rolling across the hills from every direction. The cold is doing its own work. Temperatures at Chosin in late November run 30 below zero, and that number doesn't mean anything until you feel what it does to a rifle bolt. Your M1 jams on the first attempt to cycle it. Your fingers, even inside the gloves, are slowing down, getting thick and stupid, like they belong to someone else. You start to understand that frostbite isn't a side effect of this situation. It's an active participant. It will kill you just as dead as a bullet, just slower and with more paperwork. Marcus catches a round in the shoulder sometime before dawn. Not fatal, but he's graying out, leaning against a frozen embankment while one of the other men tries to pack the wound with whatever's available, which isn't much. He looks at you once, just once, that specific look, and you understand that the job just changed hands without anyone saying so out loud. He pulls the pocket watch from his jacket and holds it out to you. You don't take it. He pushes it into your hand and closes your fingers around it. The brass is so cold, it burns. Wind it every morning, he says. Gives you a reason to use your hands. Nobody elects you. It just happens the way these things happen, which is badly and without ceremony. But Marcus made the choice before anyone else did. He saw something in you that you haven't found yet. You don't know if he's right. You just know that 8 men are looking at you now instead of him. You move south. Not because you have real intelligence pointing that way. Not because anybody knows where the main line is. But because the one thing you know with absolute certainty is this. Standing still is just dying at a slower pace. Marcus taught you that. By the second day, you stop thinking of the cold as weather. It's something alive, something with patience and intent, and it's working on you systematically. Your boots froze solid the first night. You're walking on blocks of leather that stopped bending 2 days ago. The sea rations in your pack turned to ice somewhere around hour 6. Your body is burning every calorie it has just to keep your organs at the right temperature, and you stopped having extra calories to spare a long time ago. Marcus is moving under his own power, but barely. The shoulder wound isn't bleeding anymore. The cold took care of that. But the arm is useless and his face has that gray, translucent look. That means the body is starting to make choices about what it can afford to keep running. You put him between 2 men and keep him walking. You check him every hour the way he taught you to check everyone. Shake him. Make him say something. Make him prove he's still in there. The rule you make for the others is the same. Every hour you check the man next to you, because sleep in 30 below is almost indistinguishable from dying. The transition is that smooth, that quiet. The cold doesn't announce itself, it just closes the door. Chinese patrols own the daylight hours, so you flip your schedule. Move at night, hide by day, no fires, no warmth, no relief whatsoever. You spend the daylight hours packed together in whatever frozen depression in the earth you can find, sharing body heat like it's the last resource on the planet, because it basically is. On the 3rd day, Pruitt starts going. He's from a town outside Biloxi. Told you once he'd never seen snow before basic training. Now the exposure is rewriting his brain in real time. He starts talking about his grandmother's kitchen, describing the smell of biscuits, smiling at things that aren't there. You keep him moving, 2 men rotating to support him. Marcus, half conscious against a frozen hillside, mutters to you during a rest. "Don't leave him!" 3 syllables that cost him something. You nod. You don't leave Pruitt. In your jacket pocket next to the watch, there are 3 letters you wrote to Ruth and never sent. Frozen stiff now. It's the 4th night when Marcus stops walking. Not dramatically, not with a sound. He just stops, the way a clock stops, one moment moving, the next not. Henderson and Kowalski are on either side of him, and they feel the weight shift, and they lower him down against a frozen bank, and you come back from the front of the column and crouch next to him, and his eyes are open and focused, which is worse than if they were closed. "Shoulder's not the problem," he says. His voice is steady but far away, like he's speaking from the bottom of a well. The cold got deeper than the wound. Hypothermia has been doing its quiet arithmetic for days, and the numbers just came due. You try to lift him. He puts his good hand on your arm and stops you. Not hard, just enough. "You know the way now," he says. Then he asks you what time it is. You pull out the watch. The hands have stopped, frozen solid somewhere in the last hour, the same way his father's watch stopped in France. Marcus looks at it, and something crosses his face that you'll spend the rest of your life trying to name. It's not fear. It's not peace. It's recognition, maybe. Like he just understood the punchline to a joke that took 2 generations to tell. "Wind it when it thaws," he says. You take his tags. You close his eyes. You put the watch back in your pocket and you stand up, and 7 men are looking at you, and the wind is cutting through the valley like a blade, and south is that direction. And the only thing Marcus asked of you is to keep going. You keep going. 6 men now. You lost Henderson on the 5th night. A Chinese patrol through a frozen stream bed, close enough that you could hear them breathing. The engagement lasted 30 seconds, ugly and close. You took his tags with fingers so numb you could barely feel the chain. On the 6th morning, you find them on the road. An old Korean man and 2 children, a girl and a boy, maybe 6 and 8, sitting in the ditch on the south side of the trail. The old man is looking at you with eyes that have been past hope for a while. The children are pressed against him for warmth. He probably stopped generating hours ago. You have nothing. No food you could spare and survive. No extra clothing. Your men look at you and you look at them and nobody says a word. You keep walking. You don't look back. That choice lives inside you from that morning forward and it never leaves. Marcus would have stopped. You know that with a certainty that doesn't require proof. He would have stopped because that's who he was, and you kept walking because that's who this place turned you into. The difference between those 2 men is the thing you carry heavier than anything else. You see the perimeter on the morning of the 7th day. Friendly positions on a ridgeline to the south, maybe a mile off. The first organized defensive line you've seen in almost a week. Your legs keep moving even though your brain has stopped being certain this is real. You reach the wire. An officer comes out and looks at your group like you crawled out of the earth. He asks what unit you're from. You tell him. He goes quiet. Your unit was reported lost 4 days ago. You make it to Hungnam. They put you on a ship. You sit on the deck in borrowed gear, watching the port get smaller behind you, and you feel something that isn't quite relief and isn't quite anything else you have a word for. Marcus's watch is in your pocket, still frozen, still stopped. The war keeps going without you. 2 more years of grinding, hill taking, hill losing, negotiating, stalling, dying. And then in July of 1953, it ends in an armistice that draws a line across the peninsula roughly where the whole thing started. Not a victory, not a defeat. Just a pause with paperwork. 36,000 Americans dead for a line on a map that looks almost identical to the line that existed in June of 1950. You come home that fall. Ruth is at the bus station. Your mother too. That part is good. That part is everything. The rest of it is quieter than you expected. Your neighbor, the one who runs the hardware store on the corner, shakes your hand and asks if you were over in the Pacific. You tell him Korea. He nods the way people nod when they don't know what to say. Your brother gets asked about Guadalcanal at every dinner party for the next decade. Nobody asks about the Chosin Reservoir. Nobody asks about any of it. The Korean War gets a name eventually, and the name is the Forgotten War. Sandwiched between your brother's war and the one coming in Vietnam, it just disappears into the space between, like it was embarrassed to exist. There are no big movies. No famous photographs that everyone knows. Just a wall in Washington that most people walk past without stopping. The watch thaws on a Tuesday morning in December, 3 weeks after you get home. You're sitting at the kitchen table, Ruth making coffee, the radio playing something quiet. You pick it up and wind it the way Marcus told you to, and the hands start moving. Just like that. Like they were waiting. You wind it every morning for the next 30 years. Ruth asks you once, early on, why you keep winding a watch you never wear. You say it belonged to a friend. She doesn't ask again. She knows the voice you use when a door is closing. Some mornings, the watch is the first thing you reach for. Before the coffee, before the light. Your hand finds it on the nightstand, and your fingers go through the motion, and you hear the tiny mechanical sound of something still working, still counting, still measuring time for a man who ran out of it on a frozen hillside in North Korea. Marcus taught you how to read terrain and check bootlaces and keep moving when your brain says stop. He taught you that the man next to you is the only thing that matters when the math stops making sense. And on the 4th night, on a frozen bank with his hand on your arm, he taught you the last thing. That sometimes the best a man can do is hand the watch to someone who's still standing and trust that they'll keep winding it. You kept winding it. That's what it cost you. A life that wasn't much, but was yours. A war that nobody remembers. A man named Marcus who stopped on a hillside so you didn't have to. And a pocket watch that works again every time you wind it, even though it shouldn't. Even though nothing about any of this should still work. But it does. You make sure of it every morning.